God, are you still there?
Sometimes we pray, but heaven feels quiet, like our words are rising, but not returning. We wait, and the silence stretches longer than our faith, feeling strong. Minutes turned into nights, and nights into questions we didn't know how to answer. We wondered if God heard us, or if we were just speaking into empty space. But what we didn't realize was that silence isn't absence, because even when heaven feels quiet, God is still working in places we cannot see, moving pieces we don't understand, fighting battles we don't even know we're in. And maybe, just maybe, the silence wasn't rejection. It was preparation. Not every answer comes as a voice. Sometimes it comes as strength to endure, peace that doesn't make sense, or the quiet assurance to keep going, even when nothing changes. So we keep praying, not because we heard him, but because we chose to trust that he hears us.
I've been praying, but nothing is changing.
At times we waited when we couldn't hear him, when prayers felt like echoes in an empty room, and faith felt heavier than the silence around us. We waited when nothing moved, nothing changed, when heaven didn't respond the way we hoped it would. We waited in the tension between what he promised and what we were living. And in that quiet, it felt like absence, like distance, like maybe we had been forgotten. But what if he was never silent, just speaking in ways we didn't recognize, in the stillness that taught us to listen deeper, in the delay that built something stronger than answers, in the unseen work happening beneath the surface? Because waiting didn't mean he wasn't there. It meant he was doing something we couldn't rush. So we waited, not with perfect faith, but with steady hearts, not because we heard him, but because we believed he was still God, even in the silence.
Just because you don't see it doesn't mean God isn't moving.
That is true. Just because we don't see it doesn't mean God isn't moving. Behind the silence, he's still working. Behind the delay, he's still aligning things we could never arrange on our own. What feels like stillness to us is often movement in a realm we can't see. Seeds are growing, even when the ground looks empty. Chains are breaking, even when we still feel bound. Doors are shifting, even when they haven't opened yet, because God doesn't need visibility to be active. He doesn't need our confirmation to be faithful. And sometimes the greatest movements happen in the hidden places, in hearts being strengthened, in character being refined, in faith learning how to stand without proof. So no, we may not see it yet. We may not feel it yet. We may not understand it yet. But that doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means God is moving, quietly, deeply, intentionally, and at the right moment. What he's been doing in secret will become undeniable.
God was quiet, but he was working.
Yes, God is often quiet, but He is working, not in the noise we expect, but in the silence we didn't understand. While we were looking for answers, He was building endurance. While we were asking for clarity, He was shaping our trust, even though it felt like nothing was happening. But beneath the surface, everything was shifting. Doors we couldn't see were being arranged. Battles we didn't know about were being fought. Paths we hadn't walked yet were being prepared. Because God doesn't stop moving just because He stops speaking. And His silence was never empty. It was full of purpose, full of unseen progress, full of quiet transformation, full of answers that hadn't arrived yet. So when it felt like He was distant, He was actually closer than we realized, working in ways we couldn't measure, on things we couldn't yet see. God was quiet, but He was never still.
I called your name in the silence, but all I heard was my breath. Felt like heaven was distant, like my faith was put to the test. Every prayer felt unanswered, every tear hit the floor. But I held on to your promise, though I couldn't feel you anymore. Even when I couldn't see, you were moving over me. In the waiting, you were there. In the silence, you were near. Every moment I felt alone, you were holding every tear. Though I couldn't feel your hand, you were working all along. In the waiting, you were there, and you never left me on my own. There were nights I felt abandoned, like you turned your face away. I kept reaching through the darkness, still choosing you in the pain. Didn't see what you were doing, didn't know what you were playing. But the breaking was the making of a heart in your head. Even when I couldn't see, you were moving over me. In the waiting, you were there. In the silence, you were near. Every moment I felt alone, you were holding every tear. Though I couldn't feel your hand, you were working all along. In the waiting, you were there, and you never left me on my own. Now I see it in the healing, now I feel it in the peace. Every delay had a purpose, every trial brought release. What I thought was just a struggle was your hand refining me. You were writing something greater in the unseen mystery. Even when I couldn't see, you were moving over me. In the waiting, you were there. In the silence, you were near. Every moment I felt alone, you were holding every tear. Though I couldn't feel your hand, you were working all along. In the waiting, you were there, and you never left me on my own. You were there in every tear, you were there in every fear. You were there when I couldn't stand, still you held me in your hands. You were there when I cried out, you were there in every doubt. Even when I couldn't see, you were with me through it all. Every moment, every tear, you were faithful, you were here. In the waiting, you were there, and you never let me fall. Even in the silence, you were speaking all along.